Okay.
Alright, relax. Alright. Gonna call this meeting to order at 3:09 p.m. Director Ehrlich, please call the roll.
Yes. President Ingerman.
Present.
Vice President Lee.
Excused.
Vice President Yvonne. Here. Chief of Staff Thomas.
Also excused.
Director Ford. Here. Director Ehrlich. Here. Director Tial.
Here.
Director Ramsey.
Nice.
Director Kawaji. Director Jenkins. Here. Wait, Director Kawaji. Excuse me. Senate President Perkins.
Here.
Senator Brawl. Here. Senator Kruger.
Here.
Senator Nakayama.
Excuse.
Senator Connell. Here. Senator Alvarado.
Here.
Senator Salas. Senator Galvin.
Here.
Senator Diaz-Martinez.
Here.
Great. Moving on to approval of prior meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve last meeting's minutes?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any objections? Moving on to approval of agenda, but before we approve the agenda, there needs to be an amendment made to the room. Is there a motion to amend the agenda to read executive conference room 224 instead of the San Carlos room?
I move to amend the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any objections? Okay, moving on to call to the audience. Oh wait, before we do that, is there a motion to approve this meeting's agenda? Try. Is there a motion to further amend the agenda to strike the COP priorities update from new business?
I move to further amend the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any objections? Okay. That new business point has been struck. Is there a motion to approve this meeting's agenda?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any objections? Moving on to call to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak at this time? Okay. Moving on to Senate nominations, starting with Tyler Tobline for seat of Senator. Tyler, would you like to stand up and say a few words?
Hi guys, so my name's Tyler, and if you don't know me, I served as Chief of Senator last year, and then I also served briefly as Chief of Staff this year before I stepped down from that role. So,
Thank you. Senators, any questions? Senator Brock.
What is when you decided to come back or when you go to college?
So the difference between the Chief of Staff role and the Senator role is something that I kind of realized by trial and error. The difference between it is that senators, their supervisors are the constituents. We have a priority as senators to speak for our constituents, whereas as Chief of Staff, you don't really have that option as much. So with my role coming back, I actually hope to get more CISA involvement, continue to work with Dean Rowan, and to continue to involve CISA students as well as make sure that their voices are heard.
Thank you. Senator Kruger.
Tyler. So from my understanding, I assume that you left the Chief of Staff position due to time conflicts over Barry's schedule. So that's changed. Do you think that you're able to fulfill the role of a senator better than you were able to fulfill the role of Chief of Staff, considering time?
So the biggest thing with the Chief of Staff role was that I was required to be at executive board meetings. Those, as most of you probably know, are basically in the middle of the day. Whereas that was not possible to do with my new job that I had received at Miracle Working Colleges. With the senator role, I'm not required to be at executive board meetings, so there is no time conflict for me.
Just a follow-up. As of last week, we have decided Senator Alvarado. The GovOps committee time is now changed to, what was it, 12 to 1 p.m.
Yes.
On Wednesdays? Wednesdays and Mondays.
Wednesday is the week of
But we can copy. Would that committee time conflict with your work schedule?
That committee time may conflict with my schedule. However, is EAC still right before Senate? So that one would not, and then is there still a EAC committee?
EAC is still, it's kind of in flux just because there's new funding requests and stuff that's online. But right now we're talking about having, monthly or bi-weekly, we're still figuring it out, BAC meetings in the evenings until, we can get a consistent schedule going, but for the most part, any BAC involvement would be online, rolling, approval or denial of money.
So the only one I wouldn't be able to attend is Box, but other than that, I would be able to attend EAC as well as, if there is an EAC.
Any more questions from the Senate? Then it's Alex.
So like doing like how I had like a lot of recruitment and history of the industry. Is there anything like for the answering?
So I think that the biggest thing that I know is that I can work closely with my team. I think that for most of you, you've been in USG for a while now. So I don't think that my experience within USGD is necessary at this point. However, I think that my experience with my dean, my current relationship with my dean would help my constituents be heard better.
Any more questions, Senator? Senator Diaz-Martinez.
I wanted to ask, I have a minor visa, and I actually inquired about looking for funds to go to college. And I was unable to get funds from CISA and USG. So in the instance that somebody goes through that, and they're not aware of the USG, how would you work with your team to make funds? Or how would you communicate?
So the biggest thing I think in any role being a student leader is knowing who the person is who controls that. So really, I mean, if you have talked about CISA, if you looked into CISA, then you know that our dean is actually the dean of 2 colleges. So he's actually the dean of CISA as well as the dean of University College. With that being said, his main office is actually on Polytechnic campus, but he does have an office here as well. So my statement to that would be to reach out to him because he's probably the most student-centered dean out of all of the deans that I've seen. If you send him an email, he will respond and he'll tell you, what can be done and he'll connect you with the right people. And it just so happens that the person for that is actually located downtown. So you could literally just pop into her office and say, look, I really want to go to this. I'm a CISA minor. I think that it would benefit me, and I think that you should find me. And if it's available, then he'll find a way. That's the best thing about Dean Rowan is that he is very student-centered, so he would find a way, kind of no matter what.
Any more questions? So speaking of connecting with your constituents, there is a proposed health fee change that's coming up this semester. Because CISA is so spread, how would you get in contact with your constituents to ask them?
So the first thing is knowing how to reach out to the students. The one thing that I did do when I was CISA senator before I took on the chief of staff role was I was in contact with the marketing and communications people at the CISA office. And we have actually set up a way for basically the CISA senators to communicate with all of the students via the marketing person at the dean's office. She's willing to send out emails on behalf of CISA, as well as behalf of student government for the student leaders for student government. And then in addition to that, last year I did not live on campus, whereas this semester I do live on campus. And so another way would be all of the CISA students are housed on one floor, albeit shared with another. And then in addition to that, there is a CA that is. So just basically spreading that word of mouth and via the email outlet that CISA has.
How responsive were students to that marketing blast via the marketing office at CISA?
So the good thing about the CISA office or the marketing person at CISA the emails that are sent out, she can actually pull up statistics on what's been read, what hasn't been read, how many times it's been opened, etc. And so the last one that we had sent out, about 65% of CISA students opened that email. So back when we sent that email out last year, 65% of those CISA students opened that and they knew who their representatives were last year. And so continuing to work with the marketing director to kind of see what that statistic looks like and seeing how other ways to reach out to them are.
So there's any more questions? Is there a motion to confirm Tyler's combined for student senator by roll call vote?
Move to convert by roll call.
Is there a second? Any objections? Director Ehrlich, please call the roll.
Senator Cabral. Aye. Senator Krueger.
Aye.
Senator Lavallee. Senator Connell. Aye. Senator Alvarado. Aye. Senator Salas. Senator Calvin. Aye. Senator Diaz-Martinez.
By a vote of 7 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 not voting, welcome to the Senate. Ready to take a seat? But just so you know, you won't be able to vote on legislation in this meeting, but starting next week. Moving on to first read legislation, beginning with Senate Bill 12 for agenda posting. Senator Alvarado, would you like to explain legislation?
If Vice President Letha was here, it'd be a lot better. But basically, what it is just saying that the agendas for executive board meetings are to be posted to the public drive 24 hours prior to the meeting. It's what we already have for Senate meetings and our committee meetings, but it was not there for executive board meetings, so that's just something that Vice President wanted to make sure that it was universal.
Okay. Before we continue, is there a motion to discuss?
I move to discuss.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections? Senator Krueger.
I just have a question. So if the agenda is not posted for e-board, can you assume that the meeting will no longer be held then? Like, what's the way that it would work after that piece of legislation is passed?
President Ron. Yes.
Essentially what would happen, the meeting would no longer allow, it would not be allowed to happen. President, so whoever that may be in this circumstance, forgets the agenda, what was expected.
I think that says that specifically in the bill. Senator Alvarado.
When I was talking to Vice President about it, because I had the same question, he said, I remember, that it would still happen, but they would just receive it.
Senator Krueger.
Is that how all of the other meetings work then for both caucus and the other type of committee meeting?
Yeah, speaking of that, I would recommend in the body of the bill, it should imply that not apply to state that the meeting then I think it's still hold the meeting, but in a legal sense, the meeting would then be deemed illegal. Subsequent controversy with that. Also, further recommendation that if you want to codify the failure to post the agenda will result in this group. You won't necessarily to that point, you won't have to table the legislation, you'll be able to make the changes. They're moving it to second reading for the next Senate meeting, which is the 16th, you have time to make the changes to get laws. You just have to make sure that the changes were published 24 hours before the meeting on the 16th.
Senator Alvarado.
So is this something that we want to do for like all like agendas? Because from what I remember in the bylaws, it did like none of them specifically stated that if it was not posted within 24 hours, then the meeting cannot be. or is this just for?
We can do an omnibus bill that would change, because we're currently working on restructuring appendix 1 as well. That's something that we can add to, the BAC's requirements for the chair as well as GovOps and EAC, if that's not already codified, but I like that idea, doing an omnibus bill.
Okay, so then is that something that we just add to this entire bill, or do we have to do something?
I don't see a problem with adding it to this bill, but we have to amend it for next week, or in next meeting. Yes, no. So. Is there any more discussion? Is there a motion to move Senate Bill 12 to second read legislation for next Senate meeting?
I move to,
16th February.
I move to move it to second read.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any objections? Moving on to second read legislation, seeing none, moving on to executive reports, beginning with President Hickman.
Right. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you all had a great week and are as excited as I am for this weekend ahead. I really just want to start by thanking everyone who was able to make it out to the Entrepreneur Forum. We had a really good turnout and the shirts were a big hit. If you haven't gotten your Usgd ringer tees yet, make sure to grab one today after today's meeting. And they're really awesome. Tell your friends about them, give them to your friends. We ordered a lot of them, so please get rid of them. Also, special shout out to those who filled out the sign-up sheet and questioned through the form as well. For executive board members specifically, I am going to make all future events mandatory, meaning that you must fill out the sign-up sheet and the absence forms. I would suggest that Senate President Perkins or senators as well, meaning that you just have to fill out the sign-up sheet, and if you don't fill out the sign-up sheet and the absence form, you'll get a strike. Really, there shouldn't be an excuse to not fill out those. It's just an Excel spreadsheet to that point. Sorry, I'm the chair.
Yeah, I mean, in echoing what President Dagerman said, I would also like to make the following events mandatory for each of the semester. Just because we should definitely be using the absence form that hasn't been utilized as often as it should. And it's best to give ample notice. As soon as you know that you're doing something, an event is happening, it's best to have that communication.
This can be like put up for discussion, but is that something that we want to clarify in the bylaws, or is just like, okay, I just want to make sure because that's something else that we can add.
So that, can I reclaim my time? To that point, it can be something that you want to, like if you do want to codify it, you can, but it's implied by virtue of authority that we, the president and the president, or all supervisors have the authority to assign strikes given a certain time frame or this meeting. So if you do want to codify it, you can, but it's sort of implied by the system already, by precedent. That answers your question. Right on. Jade and Daria will most likely be filling you in on some of the other awesome events coming up this month throughout the rest of the semester. But I do want to let you know about one. So ASU Day at the Capitol is on on February 14th, which is a Wednesday, which is also Ash Wednesday, a birthday, I think it's on it, and Valentine's Day. Definitely can't forget that one. It's in a relationship. Anyways, it's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be free food, free ASU swag. We'll be meeting with different legislators and getting a chance to tour one of the chambers. So you really don't want to miss this awesome event. You definitely want to make sure your constituents are there as well. Probably the House. Yeah, so marketing for that will be going out soon. I'll definitely be sending that to all of you to tell your constituents about, but also to our communications department so that just we can push it through our social media and stuff to try and get as many people there as well. I think it'd be really awesome if we could get at least, this is super ambitious, 45 to 50 people there just from downtown, all wearing the Educate, Organize, and Power shirts. And that'd be a really awesome photo to get around the Capitol. If everyone brings a friend and that friend brings a friend, we can make that happen pretty easily. Looking ahead, we have a really busy semester coming up due to this awesome legislative session we're in. The tuition and fee process, which we'll be touching on a little bit in the healthy discussion during new business, and election season. That's right, it might be February, but it's already time to start thinking about elections if you're interested in running. And if you are interested in elections, I would highly recommend following ASU elections on Facebook. I would definitely like that page just because that's where you'll find the general information on the timeline, like what to expect. But then additionally, the elections commissioner and myself will be interviewing our assistant elections commissioner next week. So we're really excited to hopefully have that person on board if the interview goes well, and get started on the election season. We just want to definitely encourage more students getting involved, not only in running, but also in voting in the actual election itself. So definitely pay attention to that. Majority of my updates will be covered under new business. Sad news, more on the policy side. The state relation call didn't happen today, but we're scheduled for next week. Exciting. But also, last thing before I stop talking, because there's a lot of yelling real fast, ABOR is next week. I'd love for as much of you to be there as possible. It's on Tempe's campus. It's on, the actual board meeting is on Thursday from 12 to 5 p.m. So if you're on Tempe, feel free just to stop by. Call to the audience is at 10 a.m. that day, in which either myself or President Benedict from the Tempe campus will be presenting. Greatly appreciate it if you were in attendance for that portion, or if you could swing by at any time. But I also need to know by 11:59 p.m. this Sunday on who plans attending the student leader dinner that Wednesday. Additionally, many of you received an invitation to meet with Eileen Klein this morning, sent by someone in the ABOR office, but I really want to limit it to 4 individuals traveling to the ABOR office. But if you are interested in attending that, you can video conference in as well. So if you are interested in attending that meeting in person, please let me know as soon as possible, just because their office is really small. The conference room that we met in last year was probably half the size of this, twice as many people. So unfortunately, we can't bring everyone, but definitely want to make sure that those who do want to go or have a particular interest in policy are able to make it. It's also available to live stream. And I know myself and communities will be more than willing to give you the full download of information after the meeting as well. And the other things, I'll be asking questions throughout the Senate updates today. So just like thinking ahead, I'll be asking about the status of college council, met with the dean, and how are your advisors in your college so far? The reason for this is because these are conversations just ongoing, COP, and just, you don't have to answer it today. There's something to like kind of keep in the back of your mind as you're looking how to get into things. Definitely want to prioritize meeting with your teams just because we're about to embark on the tuition and fee setting process. Yeah, there's a lot of information at once. I wrote my updates down, and I think they were less organized than they were when I freestyled it. Anyway, if anyone have a question. Wait, you'll hear my voice again during new business. Forward to it. It was kind of concluded. Really just made sure to go to ABOR if you are interested in attending the student leader with myself and Ryan by 11:59 p.m. The call that Ryan and I sit on with the State Relations Department, which is pretty much a download of information of everything going on in interest to ASU. The state legislature was unfortunately canceled this morning, so rescheduling for next week. But then again, if you do want to go to the meeting at the ABOR office the next few weeks, please let myself or Ryan know like immediately. We're trying to cap it in 4, including the 2 of us, so 2 other seats. Question? All right.
Okay, moving on to Vice President.
Okay, so I'm gonna also combine Lila's updates. So basically this week had to do with answering a lot of questions on the funding system. I also met with a couple students in person to show them how to do it, which usually just takes about 10 minutes. So if you have a student who really is confused about it, you can just have them set up a meeting with me and I can meet them usually the same day and go over how to do it. But I also created a funding video, which is on our website too, which I've also just been sending to students. You guys feel free to send the link first. It's just on our page, but also if you Google my name, YouTube, it'll show up. But you can send that to students too. I think it's been pretty helpful. I just sort of did a screen cap video and went over with my voice, like explaining how to do it. Okay, now going into Lila's updates. We have Science for Advice next Wednesday on the 7th on Taylor Mall from 11 to 1. We'll be discussing the student health fee. If you haven't signed up, the sign up sheet is in the Slack as well as our Google Drive. She also has internship informational tabling next Thursday on the 8th on Taylor Mall from 11 to 2. Chief of Staff Thomas will be giving out information about our internship program to students on Taylor Mall. We have Valentine's Day Candygrams February 13th at Taylor Place from 1 to 3:30. Director Cora has more info on this. She's probably going into that. Updates. And then President Nagermont State of the Campus Address is on February 15th at 6 p.m. Most likely in the St. Carlos room just because we had issues booking at the Sheep Garden. And then Black History Month event is February 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. She met with Chief of Staff Thomas and Director Jenkins to come up with a timeline for the event. Some more info will be coming out soon. In Her Story Month, we tentatively have March 23rd at 6 p.m. Needs to find a good location for this event. Currently, we have 3 confirmed panelists, still waiting on 2 more. The Director Jenkins has more info on that. And then she put in grocery cart, wanted to do this on a Wednesday when the cart is on schedule from noon to 3. I'll talk to her about that. And then Candace says she met with all of eBoard this week for one-on-ones, assigned an intern, corresponded with potential interns, planned family dinner for next week, so people look out for that. And then she also worked with Lila and Daria for the Cultural History Month. So all of those, I'm going to be sending them to Hannah, so she can put them in our calendar so that you guys don't have to like just pull them.
Any questions? Senator.
This is for you. Overall, are we gonna stop? Because I really loved how last semester you sent emails with all of the events compiled into one, and it's getting kind of hard keeping track of the Google Calendar, like sign up sheets in Slack. Is there any way that like I know that I know that you do it on your own out of like courtesy, but I just know that I really liked it, and it was kind of easy to have everything in one place. So
Sounds good. I can do that. I can literally just copy it.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
More questions? Moving on to Director Ehrlich.
Hi guys. So this week I did meet with the Chief of Staff, which was super helpful because she was in my position before. So she told me like now is the best time to start planning. Right. So this next week we're gonna look at different venues and stuff, and then send out a few of you guys to make sure to eat them and allergy problems or anything. And then also, this is for everyone, I have the 70 questions that we were going to do like a while ago. We're going to do that next Friday in Jackson. And like, I don't know if anyone knows what it is, but you know, you walk through and everything. And I want like all of you guys to be there and talk to him and make it like casual. So if any of you can stay between e-board and like caucus or even after caucus, whatever works best. Yes, that's all.
Any questions? Okay, moving on to our Director of Public Relations.
Hi everybody. So, like, Wendy talked about her day, that the Valentine's Day event is now a thing for sure. Yay. So if you guys want to table with me from 1:30 to 3 on the 13th, that Tuesday, feel free to come and help me. It'll be a sign-up sheet. We're just gonna hand out crush pop cans and like little box of candy art specifically by particular friends. And then I made this little tag attached to them. And students can write messages on them to their friends. So yeah, I'll do that. Also, I'm gonna send you a marketing request like right now. And then that's for that. Also, Thunderbolt Stars is gonna come back, which those who don't know, it's just that thing where students can nominate other students that they represent for these. They're featured on our website on our social media accounts. So they didn't do that last semester, but I want to bring it back. So that's gonna come back. So if you guys have anyone you want to nominate, let me know. Put up the little doc sheet so you can nominate. And then also blog posts too. If you guys have any ideas for blog posts, I was gonna start each month have a theme. So if you guys don't want to write about it, you can write it in that theme. So it's kind of like a prompt. But I'll send you guys a theme for each month.
Moving on to Director Tula.
I've been working on the sorry, my brain. The student intern flyer that will be handed out on Taylor Mall, and then throughout this week, the upcoming events that Jay and everyone else mentioned, I'll be working on that as well. And then my main point for today is the meet and greet review, which 3 people responded, so thank you to whoever responded to it. So some of the what we can improve on this event would be provide some food and music to encourage students to come along, to have more volunteers or USGD members attend the meet and greet, and also I'm trying to pick out different locations, but I think that's okay. But also what went well was the advertising on DoorDash. So in future events, if there's any last minute events, I'll be putting up DoorDash because I think that was a really good turnout for the meet and greet. Instead of just having it on the social media and a flyer like on every floor, I think DoorDash sent out a very good message to students. It also went well in the fact that a lot of students are informed about our positions and what positions are what positions you have to open for. And I think that's about it.
Moving on to our Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Director Jenkins.
Hi guys. So as you heard from Jade, there's Black History Month event. I'm gonna be sending out the sign-up sheet like right after this meeting. So the event is mandatory because it's 3 weeks in advance. So I would like people to like pick 2 or 3 slots if you would like. So like an hour of like tabling or like walking around the event, talking to people about USG, and just enjoying the celebration that is Black History Month. And then our next event is Her Story Month. So we're gonna have a panel of powerful women in policy. And we're gonna talk to them about like not try and divide them by the issues, but like unify them by being women in politics and showing how like we have a voice and encouraging students. And about the blog post, I'm sitting after. And I will be emailing to Chai about the marketing. But overall, I think, well, and I would like to talk about like last week for our team bonding. I loved it because like I got to know you guys a lot better. I feel like but overall, that's like all I got. So, yeah.
Any questions? Moving on to Senate reports. So hi everyone, happy Friday, happy February. It's been quite a month and quite a busy week. On Monday, I attended the RHA forum for the proposed housing and dining fee increase, which ended up passing. So if you're planning on living in Taylor Place or have a meal plan next year, expect a 3 to 5% increase in your expenses. Turnout was really low at the event. There were 4 students there, including myself. So make sure to keep an eye out for future forums for fees like that in the future and spread the word to your constituents, just so we can get more participation in those types of forums. Additionally, I also advertise open Usgd positions on the Facebook page for Taylor Place and for Barrett, since there's a vacancy now. And a constituent reached out to me who was interested in joining the organization, so I had a conversation with him today that went well. So we may be working alongside him in the near future, which is exciting. I also reviewed funding requests and began working on some issues with the system with the rest of the BAC, just kind of working through the system, answering questions, and just connecting with those student organizations that are also getting used to the system. Additionally, I began drafting legislation for Appendix 1. It's in the GovOps drive, so feel free to add to it as you see fit. We are looking to have that done by next Senate meeting on February 16th, so take a look at that. I also went over the details of collecting student feedback for the proposed health fee change with President Dagerman this week, and that we both agreed that it would be most effective to assign every senator 50 unique responses from 50 different students by next Senate meeting on February 16th, just so that we are being sure that we're out there and we're getting feedback from students that are different. The GovOps committee on the Poly campus began drafting a student feedback form, and I will distribute that to you once I get a hold of it. And I will also touch base with you next week regarding more details on how to collect feedback and really get the ball rolling. During Slice for Advice, we'll also be collecting feedback too. So anyone that you talk to from your college, you can count for your 50. But that's about it for me. Are there any questions? All right, I yield my time. Moving on to Senator Corral.
Hey everyone, so this week I worked on planning the February policy talk, which is shaping up pretty well. So it's going to be regarding lobbying. So I have secured 2 representatives so far from the House of Reps, and we're working on which lobbying group we're going to get right now, and then I will put in marketing. And I also edited the request to speak video featuring VPP Brian Lee plus Bob Ross. It is not done yet, but it will be done soon, and then you can all see it. And that's what I've been doing. I use my time.
Any questions? Moving on to College of Health Solutions.
Hello, everyone. I hope you had a good week. I unfortunately do not have any updates from my co-senator. As updates go, are you good? Can we move? Okay. As updates go, I did speak to some students about which is a better incentive for our meet and greets, because I noticed that this semester we had #1 in innovation hats, and last semester we had slickables. And so both of them came out as they loved both, but I did notice that people do tend to love ASU, the term is merch, better than slickables because it lasts a little longer. I know that a lot of the Barrett students really love having that kind of like perk of being able to have all these exclusive things that are only from one event. And then I tried reaching out to my dean. I'm going to give her a couple more days. That is still a current issue that my co-senator and I are struggling with. We've only actually met with her once throughout this entire, I guess, year so far, and even last semester once. So that's very unfortunate. When we did sit down with her, she did say that she'd like to meet with us once a month, but that's not going as planned. The next thing on my updates is I came up with the idea just today to plan a meeting with Senate President Perkins and President Dingerman about possibly creating or drafting a certain piece of a document for when we do have Slice for Advice, which I believe is on health fee, right? We'd actually be knowledgeable and kind of break down the jargon itself to what students can actually understand instead of speaking all this administrative talk. So I feel like that would be really beneficial, as well as talking to 50 different students. It'd be easier to speak in terms that they understand and how it would actually affect them. Another idea that I had that I spoke with Senate President Perkins is to actually create a document again to put on the funding request page. That way they don't have to go to our bylaws. They can kind of look right there. It's a link to it stating that we only allow $7 a shirt. We only allow a certain amount of money for this certain item. We don't refund any traveling, as well as, again, I spoke to President Tinkerman about meeting with some of the student orgs who are frequently requesting funding and showing them the new system and seeing if anyone else from any student org would like to come and figure that out. Because from what I hear, it's kind of a trial and error at this point with the system and whether or not people are understanding it. So I just feel like at this point, it would be very beneficial for us to be able to be knowledgeable in terms of that. Other than that, I yield.
Any questions? I know you were just confirmed, but do you have anything for us?
So, hi guys. Yeah, I mean, I guess the things that I would have for you guys is, if there's anything I can do to help you guys succeed in any of your positions, that offer is still open. As you guys know, I'm pretty responsive to email, as well as to text. So if you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me, I am available for both of those venues pretty much 24/7.
Questions? Moving on to our comments and next other comment.
Hi everyone, so this week was actually pretty exciting because I finally have a date scheduled for my meeting with the dean, which will happen on February 13th. Stay tuned. Yeah, just planning on talking to her about some stuff that we had mentioned last semester, and then talking to her about some stuff going on in USG and getting student feedback delivered back to her and just getting her thoughts on the student feedback. And the only other thing I did this week was just putting some finishing touches on my action plan and kind of figuring out who I'm going to be in contact with to make these updates and hopeful changes.
Any questions? Moving on to our copy centers.
So where I live, I'm really compile a lot of like resources, and like office colleges, and then just like help with although like I have that compiled, like I don't know like who to send it to, like I have it on my email because I just to like just the networks that I'm in, like the other organization I'm in, or like individuals within like group chats, etc. So I have that compiled like all like ranging from like the ombudsman and specific leadership development, the Asian Press Scholarship, the Devil Scholarships, creative service, and then so many others, and like some also from my college, like noticing and pollution. I just I don't know who's in it, so I'm just sending it to it.
I would connect with team leads. Like from my own personal experience, she has been very willing to send out like a mass email to everybody, and she also has the advantage of having a bird's eye view of Hopkins. So I would connect with her, and I'm sure she'll point you in the right direction.
So and then doing the sleeves there for like the lobbying policy talk. I can think of someone who's willing to do that lobbying training. I don't know if like Yasmin has yet like received the confirmation, but okay, well I have someone who is willing to do training. And
I feel like I didn't do much this week, but I reviewed like the funding requests that the organizations have been sending in. I attended the Dr. Crow forum. It's pretty funny to see like all the small jokes that he had, so it's pretty interesting. I met with Senator Cabral to further discuss my action plan for the policy talk. And then I couldn't like I was still working on finding a lobbying group, but like if you already have one confirmed. I met with Vice President Leeds and we went through the bylaws again to see the suggested changes that we wanted to make from what we discussed in GovOps, and then he taught me how to draft the bill that we just talked about earlier. So now I'm getting an idea of how to actually do legislation, which is great. I chatted with Senate President Perkins about ideas that we could do for GovOps. So that's going to be interesting. Thank you for the link that you sent me. So we're going to start looking at the legislation coming from the Capitol that will affect our students. So that's going to be interesting. As many of you guys know now, so GovOps has been changed to 12 to 1 p.m. during the weeks of caucus on Wednesdays. So yeah, so that's going to be put into effect next week for our next meeting. Still haven't heard anything from our intern Aaron about helping me with the toiletry drive, so I'm just gonna give up on that, like altogether. Even though I see him a lot all the time, I'm just like, hey, and he's like, oh yeah, like that's whatever. But I did email Erica Schwartzman. She's the liaison between St. Vincent de Paul and ASU, so she can help me with the toiletry drive. And I worked on her. I've worked with her when I served in the Governor's Youth Commission, so I know that she'll be good to have on this project. So hopefully by next Senate meeting, like for like the next 2 weeks, I can actually get the ball rolling.
In terms of Aaron, he's just been reassigned to me actually, and I know he has a lot of interest in policy, and I'm going to follow up with him. We've kind of been in contact, but I think I'm going to have him help in terms of tracking bills in the Capitol and just kind of see what other areas of policy he's interested in, and from there we'll redirect him. So we haven't heard from him. It's just kind of been in flux with trying to reassign him to different places. So I hope that can answer your question. Thank you. Moving on to our front-end senators.
Hello everyone. So this week just did a lot of meeting. So Senate President Perkins and I set a meeting on Monday to go over Robert rules and to learn more about WorkSync. Vivi and I plan to meet every week, hopefully, to familiarize myself with WorkSync's function. And yesterday, Eder and I, my co-senator and I, met to talk about the event we're hoping to throw by the end of the year, and we actually got a lot done, which was really awesome. And I also got in contact with Tara Grant, who is one of the supervisors at the Disability Resource Center, and she says she wants to work with me on something. I'd love to. That's about it.
Any questions? Director Jacobs.
Sorry. So I'm in Walter Cronkite College Council now, and they have been having problems with funding requests and everything. So they would like to have a funding request training, because they have a lot of things. What's really about
All of it for the SDC.
Yeah. President, Vice President, Dirk Bonnet.
Other question?
Sorry, when's SDC again?
It's gonna be on the 18th.
and it is
On to our advisor.
Great to see you all at the president support that. Just a couple of things that are happening around here today. Open door. So make sure to stop by, say hello, have a whole. We have a lot of people attending. The attendance right now is at 400. Okay. And the other thing is Devil's is coming up, so I'm hoping to go to that. Hey, there's there. And so I'm excited about that. And we have some downtown nights coming up, and I'm going to send them to you on email for basketball nights. So I can't seem to find them on my phone right now, but I'll be sending you the next upcoming downtown night.
So what's open door? I've heard a lot about it, but I never like.
So all of the, all of the campuses will open their doors to the community. One, technically all the time, but this one is they program at every building. They open the spaces for a lot of the labs, and so each of the institutions, each of the campuses will create some sort of experience based on that campus. So like Quality has their aviation programs, and they have their algae labs, and so they open that up to the public here at downtown. You have the fourth floor of Cronkite, like they get exposed to that. We're opening the student center. Movies at the Park is tonight. They're showing Justice League, and that's going to be open to all open door participants. So it's really just getting the community to come and see what it is. Thank you.
Any more questions? I do this apologies to Senator Diaz-Martinez. I did not do that. My brain is fried. It's been 1 week. So let's backtrack.
People being unsafe.
It happens sometimes. But backtracking to Senator Diaz-Martinez.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. So this week, I also had a lot of just meetings. On Tuesday, I met with Senate President Perkins, talked about my goals for the spring. One of those big rocks was to meet with some constituents regarding the flexibility about professional programs. I know that I've spoken to several constituents, and they've talked about how program news, but also other professional programs are not very flexible, and a lot of times you have a lot of downtime within those, but you're not allowed to do anything. You're just kind of stuck there. So really trying to figure out what would be the best way to approach being challenged about it, is whether just to gain some testimony and send it to them, or to explain those and just say that, say, hey, we are having some concerns with this. At the same time, I also want to be respectful, because I'm currently enjoying my working program, and it's great, but there is downtime. It would be nice to listen. Another thing, on Wednesday, we met and we spoke about the event that we were planning. We did get a lot done, which is great. So that I'm looking forward to that. Cool. And then, Thursday I met with the senator from USGTP, really just kind of on the topic of DACA and what's going on with all of that, and just kind of building some campus government coalition building, and just kind of informing them and seeing how we can, as a unified student government, go and approach board stuff that they can help with on that side of it. And then I also had this really cool idea. WP Carey actually offers like partnerships with like Macy's, as far as like discounts on like professional clothing and things like that. And I feel like that's really necessary, especially in our jobs as students. PR, being on camera, broadcast. So if we can get like a partnership with Cronkite with like Macy's, so we can get some discounts for student clothing, well, stuff that would be really cool. Because we don't have that. So yeah, and then just like maybe have to bring somebody that can so yeah, I'm gonna talk to like Nisha.
Awesome. Let us know how we can help with that. Cool. President Ramon?
Oh, yeah. Senator Martinez, when presenting the feedback in the calendar, I know that we're using empirical data will be. So I'd highly recommend using like a Google form to start collecting feedback from Cronkite students within each professional program.
Yeah, definitely.
Number is always great.
Any more questions? Moving on to new business, starting with healthy timeline.
Yes, if I could have everyone direct their attention to Marie's Senator Kruger.
Get in there.
I'm going to put this information in Slack so you can all follow along, because I know at least for this side of the table,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I was just going to show you the documents for reference. All right, everyone. So document you are looking at, you don't actually have to read it right now. I'll do my part to summarize it, and it'll also be on our website following this meeting, but additionally in the Google Drive as well. This is the press release for the proposed health fee increase. The fast facts you need to know now. It's a proposed $15 increase. Already, ASU students will get $40 a semester, and if the increase is passed, it'll be $55 per semester. Everyone following along so far? Okay. So in order for this to happen, every single branch of ASU must vote on this. It must be by majority. It can't be 3-2. To my knowledge, it has to be 4-1 in approving the increase of this fee. So if ultimately it's not approved, that's fine. I'm not going to say yes. Approval of the fee increase. Hopefully the other presidents won't say yes either if the feedback presented does oppose it. But this is just sort of the procedure we'll be following. Next week will be the start of, next week and the week thereafter will be the start of the student forums, where we'll be collecting more feedback in addition to the slice for advice and the general feedback. Senators are now required to collect, signed by Senate President Perkins, and ideally we will be voting on the resolution to determine if whether or not this increase will pass on February 16th at 3 p.m., which is next week's meeting from now.
I'd just like to add to that really quick. We need to market the heck out of this forum.
Yeah.
I would really hate to see only 4 students showing up.
With that being said, again, the next presentation I'll show you will give you more in-depth detail or context behind the reason for this. But the biggest things and the biggest talking points for students are extended hours for weekday hours. So that means the clinic's going to be open longer to supplement the students' needs who may have jobs. Their class schedules may not allow for them to attend during the hours that it's open. But then additionally, Saturday clinics, like we talked about before, increased specialized care, the implementation of telehealth, prioritize low-cost referrals for behavioral health, which is huge. Already, ASU counseling does their part to be mindful of all financial circumstances in the fact that they offer their services for $15 per session, but they're also very willing to waive any fees if financial services or financial aid is an issue. That basically, no matter your financial circumstance, you should be able to see a provider, and that's what we're trying to bring to the community as well. So ASU is going to work to prioritize low-cost referrals for behavioral health, but then additionally enhanced online patient portal for scheduling appointments, access to medical records, and communication with providers. That's kind of the general statement. This will be in the Google Drive. Does anyone have any questions on this specific PR release and or the timeline?
Could you go into depth about what telehealth is?
Sure. So the easiest explanation in 2 facets. One, it can replace acute and primary care. Around the time in October to mid-February, you see an increase in demand of primary and acute care due to the flu and cold season. If it's flu and cold season, there's no real reason for you to go to a provider, since you unfortunately in many cases have to let yourself get better in those processes. So it's just a way for one to reduce demand time within the actual health centers, but then additionally preventing the spread of germs, because we just want you to stay in your home room, in your house, spread rooms across campus. And essentially, it allows you to teleconference in or Skype in, video chat, equivalent to FaceTime with a healthcare provider. It can additionally be used as an online self-help intervention tool for behavioral health crises as well, or just a supplemental need. So rather not walking over to counseling services or seeking someone within the community, you can actually essentially Skype your therapist for free due to a new service that we're offering.
Follow up.
So,
Does this have anything to do with TAO? I know that you were talking about the possible implementation of that.
So yes, TAO is being implemented.
Okay.
There are other telehealth services being.
Okay.
TAO was the first.
Thank you.
TAO is specifically for online self-help. It's used to supplement more of a regular need. The self-help intervention tools are more for crisis circumstances. Implementation of telehealth are for the subsidization and reduction of the demand in acute and primary care at our health clinic. Sorry for the jargon. The major, and this is part of my specialty. It's basically, so less sick people go to the doctors, so lines are shorter, and so there's a less chance of germs being spread. And because it's innovative. Any other questions on this specific timeline? Right. Who's ready for some context? Here we go. Okay. So, back in 2009, the Council of Presidents asked for the fee to be implemented really with the idea to provide a steady and predictable income source and enhance services for students who seek both preventative and acute care. What this means, they realized there is a priority for students to have access to really good care on campus. Thus, they decided to create said health fee. Said health fee has not increased since 2009 and since its implementation. However, since its implementation, ASU's grown a little bit in the sense that our campus really didn't exist. It did. We didn't have our health services building, which is why some of the data in this presentation will not reflect downtown as an actual input, just because we as a campus were not running in that regard. So going from the few health service clinics that were back then to now, we now have 6 health service clinics, majority of whom service from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's Tempe that has the exception of the extended hours to 6 p.m. And then on Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're hoping to expand Saturday clinics to all campuses with the possible passage of this fee. But then additionally, there is 24/7 medical support through health services for acute primary care, more so on the impact and behavioral health side.
So if this fee were to pass, those are the current hours for every health services on every campus. What would the extended hours be?
Not off the top of my head. I wouldn't want to give wrong information, but we would propose expanding them to
For every
Saturday
campus?
night, but on select days. Current status and counseling, again, when this was established, we have now grown rapidly in counseling, and you'll see in a second. And so here we go. This is fun. These are how many students, and this is data that like I can show the two of you, or show all of you, but I cannot show everybody. Or just share this PowerPoint, at least. Show the health forms. It's just something that we aren't going to be sitting around.
Oh, it's here, but also, yeah.
Why not? Yeah. So in 2009, we were servicing roughly 46,074 students per year. We're now servicing 63,166 students per year, and FY18 projection is 66,324 students per year. Unique students, that equates to roughly 16,000 undergrad and 5,000 graduate students. just to break down by campus and also by type of students. So Arizona, like in-state students, students from out of state, but then also international students, which is kind of cool as a data point. Usage across the board has increased. We've especially seen an increase in usage of health services from our international students, which is really awesome. Making sure that they have the support when learning new health systems, because the health system in America is so radically different than a lot of other countries around the world. But additionally, ASU's model is completely different than the healthcare model in the United States. Those who utilize health services and counseling services often have a higher GPA, as you're making sure you're holistically well, able to perform, and making sure that you're seeking the treatment you need to keep yourself well and make sure that you're able to perform in your classes. But a massive increase in counseling services. You can see that on that graph. That's where we started. More data. So what's crazy and what this signifies, and this is probably the most important data point, so I'd ask if you are in this room to pay attention to this, because this does help contextualize a lot of things. I know data's a lot. I know this is rather boring to some of you possibly, but I would ask that you pay attention to this and bring your attention to the screen. So enrollment has gone up, but the demand on our services has gone up even. That means that there is now a need for additional revenue in the system. The biggest area, both are massive increases, so that's a 39% since the establishment of the increase in service. It's outpacing the percent change in enrollment, meaning that there's a higher demand on our services that the university has revenue for to support as the fee currently stands. On counseling services, since the fee was established, it's gone up by 118%, which is absolutely awesome because it means more students are utilizing ASU counseling services and are being mindful of their overall holistic well-being, but also their mental health as well. Yes.
So I'm kind of lost in terms of where does a health fee come in? Is it with the student's tuition, or do they pay when they come in?
What do you mean?
Like you're talking about how it would go from 40 to 55. So is that going to be seen? Is that health fee included in the student's tuition?
The health fee is a separate fee from tuition.
So,
sorry.
And so I'm not paying the health fee until I once go in, or have I already paid for it?
You've already paid.
Okay, thank you.
All students.
Per semester.
$40 per semester. Proposed increase would bring it to 55. So what it's saying, one of the slides isn't on here right now. Really, there's been an increased usage of our services. The current revenue model is frankly not enough to produce the quality of services that we can need. We can rapidly expand and provide innovative solutions like telehealth, low-cost STIs, but there is a reality in terms of running a business or an institution like this that requires revenue. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions? I'm very data heavy. Definitely see the need of spending time with Senator Kruger to make that less jargony, and also Allie as well. But does anyone have any questions right now? About the health fee? Yes.
So, would you mentioned that for health services, the demand for health services increased almost 40%, and the demand for counseling service has increased almost 120%. Would increasing the health fee significantly alleviate that?
Increasing the health fee.
Burden?
You have factor in a few ways. One, implementing the usages of telehealth and online systems now with other crisis intervention methods would alleviate the sort of demand and pressure on staff to support that. And two-way is one, if you're calling into your provider, you don't need to go to the actual physical provider. But then additionally, other revenues from the proposed health fee would be going toward patient advocates to actually help students navigate community resources other than the ASU counseling and health services center, so you can better get connected to low-cost referrals within the community that helps you. So the short answer, yes, what I just gave is the reason why.
Any more questions?
Reported feedback, sharing that everyone got it. Well, we're gonna do the same thing with the program like 60 years ago.
That is, so there's a form created that's probably pretty created. In my opinion, it might be too simple. And so short answer, yes, Madam President. Create a form that's unbiased, but then additionally allows senators to track. Short answer. Yeah, health services already. Anyone have any further questions before I stop talking? All of this makes sense. Do you have any questions? I know this is a lot of information. I'm sorry that I am speaking a lot of jargon. But seriously, if there is ever any clarification you need, any concerns, hesitations that you have, please feel free to talk to me outside of this. Shoot me a text. I do really value your feedback. You are the direct voice to our students, so I do really want to hear from you. Your voice matters.
Awesome. Seeing no further questions, moving on to our last new business point, which is at-large Senate seats. So it was brought up that due to the difficulty of filling the CISA seats in the past, last year being the exception where we had both CISA senators filling the seats, it has been suggested that we switch the CISA seats in the future to be at-large Senate seats. But obviously, in order to make that change, we would have to bring it to Senate and ask you all what you think. So I was wondering if we could open that up for discussion.
Have we already opened
Yeah.
discussion? Okay. So answer me this. CISA is the smallest, I guess, college with a downtown campus, correct?
Please. Demographically,
And so I think it might be, because right now we're sitting at 9 senators out of 12 now, I believe. With Senator Tobine finally being confirmed. I think it would be beneficial because right now our ultimate goal is to just have some type of student representation. Overall, I don't think it really matters what college it is from if it's 2 seats that are being at large right now. I just think at this point we're desperate for any type of feedback that we can get from constituents. And I think if we're putting the limit on what college you have to be from to be able to serve for USGD as a senator, I think overall, I just think in general, right now we're desperate enough for just feedback, any type of feedback. And that's how I stand personally, because right now I feel like if we were to have a full Senate, or even just as close to a full Senate than we already are now, I feel like we could definitely be more functioning, more active in terms of responding to students' feedback.
Senator Alvarado.
To Senator Kruger's point, I do agree with all the points that you have made, but again, I feel we're just like referring to the bylaws a lot. But something that I saw in there is that the reason why we have 2 senators for each college is so that there's equal representation. So I feel that if we disregard CISA, we're kind of not like giving those students any type of representation.
Senator Tobine.
So, being the newly elected senator for CISA, I feel like it's probably pertinent that I at least say something regarding it. I do understand the reasoning behind it. Obviously, being a CISA senator last year, we were able to fill those seats, and I believe that was the first time in like 5 years or something that we had been able to fill both CISA senator seats. It might have been less than 5 years, but I think it was quite a while that both CISA senator seats had been filled. I would kind of entertain the option of possibly making the CISA seat one of the CISA seats open, so an at-large seat to represent any college, and then I would at least caution us to have at least one reserved for CISA, since it is a smaller group of students downtown. My other question would be, playing the devil's advocate, what would that at-large senator's responsibilities be? I mean, for most of the time, are they going to be doing what their college is specific to, or are they going to be doing things that are representing the entire student body? Those would be the questions that I would bring before you.
Senator Kruger?
I think Senator Cabral was before me.
You can go ahead. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your name tag behind the water bottle right there. Oh, Senator Cabral.
Yeah, I think we should have at least one CISA senator. What happened if we had at large senator positions is that we're gonna get probably someone from like Barrett or Cronkite or like Hopkins, because those people seem to be more eager, or we seem to have more applications from these colleges, and I think we're just gonna continue to make like the bigger colleges like more and more powerful and like slowly start to forget about the smaller populations. So I don't think that we should just completely get rid of it.
Senator Kruger.
And to Senator Cabral's point, I'm sorry you agree at that. Also, there's another potential idea is to create 2 at-large senator seats, but keep the 2 CISA seats open. The ratio will still be the same, but there's still going to be more active voices from constituents. So that's a proposal, whether we want to do that, because we need more people in the Senate. We're not hiding that fact. And whether or not the ratio is going to be the same to having 1 CISA seat empty, I feel like we still need more voices regardless. And again, to multiple senators' points, I think it would be, if I can direct a question at President Dingerman, is that okay? How does like Tempe face off? Does an at-large senator solely represent their college or the student body?
Tempe, to my knowledge, does not have the at-large senators in Polytech.
I was thinking of U of A. I'm sorry.
Oh.
U of A has a ton of at-large senators.
To my knowledge, they function more as Senator Tickline, as representing more of the student body, really trying to help facilitate the extra work that needs to be done within their branch of government. So if that's something specific to a certain cause of our organization, like if they're going to be hyper-focused on affinity, which I think would be really awesome if they're going to focus on performance, or if they're going to focus on civic engagement. I think having an at-large senator in that capacity would be awesome. Kind of function as a surrogate that will, one, not only collect feedback and also assist other senators in their requirements, but additionally find a way to support being, quite frankly, the like executive branch, so support the DPS, support the DPS, support the president, and facilitating an ongoing dialogue with the entire student body. Just because it is challenging at times to try and connect with every single student downtown, and they can help facilitate that as well. I do see the apprehensions of opening up to at-large position where anyone could apply, but then additionally, like under the guise and worries that would make a certain college stronger. I don't think that would happen if the bylaws were worded a certain way. Yeah, those are just my thoughts. Contextually speaking, again, it's just even 3 years in the Usgd and then understanding the context before it's tough to find CC students, we definitely do our best to connect in that community, because I do agree it's important that everyone has a voice at the table, but at the same time, if those seats are sitting empty and the stipends can be put to better usages, and by actually having bodies in this.
To that point, you suggested, or President Dagerman suggested adding those at-large senators to be in charge of like a specific field, like affinity or health and wellness, but wouldn't that just technically be better then?
To a degree, I mean, it would just be more of something. Directors are yes and no. No, because you're required to only do the office hours of the senator. Directors are required to. I see your point. They'd be functioning as a mini president. And yes.
Senator Fung.
So this one, this thing's like basically that the at-large would kind of slack in a sense for whatever maybe needs extra assistance.
Yeah, just like a general, like another person to represent the student body essentially, but
Even just like referring it to my position. Center, basically this entire academic year so far. So maybe I'm having the at-large senator. Just kind of assist me, or I also bear as senator football and just certain things there.
To that point though, I just wanted to clarify that it doesn't just have to be CISA. You do have a point that it's traditionally been very hard to fill both contact seats as well. So I think we should open, I guess, the combination to broader than CISA, just in general, and maybe a con-high and a CISA at-large seat, or both, or however we want to end up distributing those seats. But yeah, I just want to make it clear that it was just a bigger than a CISA issue. But Senator Kruger, Senator Alvarado was first. Someone was first. Senator White, go ahead.
Another thing that I would present to the Senate would be that almost probably on the downtown campus specifically, don't quote me on the numbers, but about 70% of CC students are actually exploratory students. So with that, it would be almost an idea to explore having one of the senators or one of the Senate seats being specifically either a first time or a first year freshman seat, or it could also be an exploratory seat, because basically CISA senator, if you're a CISA senator and you're an exploratory student, once you decide to leave CISA, then you basically get kicked out, because you've gone to whatever college that you represent now. And if that college doesn't have a seat, then guess what? You're now out of USG. So that would be an opportunity as well to explore for the CISA seat, as well as any other vacancies. I think that maybe the bylaws could be worded to where it doesn't necessarily just apply to CISA, where it could apply to any vacant positions, and those seats that are filled that are at large are specifically for larger than just one college. That way there's not a idea of giving one college the kind of ability to basically rule things. So that would be some suggestions that I have.
Senator real quick, that point.
So yeah, sorry. To that point, my suggestion is going to be the possibility of exploring, say for example, we go through election season and whatever college position is filled, then over time, just like the sunset clause, where those seats then become at-large Senate seats where we can fill.
To that point, the one issue is that I can see with the sunset clause is that if the Senate President and the Government Operations Chair, who are in charge of finding or interviewing potential senators decide that they want to wait to interview potential candidates, like potentially the bylaw could be taken advantage of in that way, because the Senate President and the Pillbox Chair have discretion to nominate candidates if they decide not to.
I mean, it was hold the vacancy, so. That's what
Yeah. Essentially, if they decide, if there are applicants and those that have discretion decide not to nominate them, and there is a sunset clause in place, that those seats that are specific to the college could become at-large seats. Does that make sense?
So if you're implying, can you clarify, are you implying that the GovOps and Senate President would be biased to either one, not appoint people, say for example, to Congress? But there's a sunset clause approaching where you can change it to an at-large seat, say for example, the Senate President and GovOps Chair vote in Congress, they would appoint someone.
There's, I guess.
Or just honestly just holding, I mean, like.
Not malicious.
Well, yeah, like ethically, I don't see that. I mean, like, yes, I understand that it's something obviously not, I just hope. My reaction to that is like, I hope someone wouldn't do that, or they would just intentionally hold it open. Yeah.
No, I'm just listening.
Was
I'm
that?
listening.
I'm
understanding of.
More or less, like there was the, I guess there's the potential for that bylaw to be taken advantage of, that's what I'm saying.
Point everyone to do. Awesome.
Senator Kruger. My apologies.
Not great. So what I'm hearing is basically, correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing is that there's a certain amount of time that we'd allow for a college to be vacant, and then turn that into an at-large seat. So now the question is how long do we want to wait until we consider that an at-large seat open to anyone? And then my other question is from what I've seen, what I'm noticing is that the overall issue is USGD recruitment. I know that last semester I did have a CHS 100 class where it was everyone from College of Health Solutions. And I assume that every other college has that. Would there be any way for us to go in and speak to these students one day? Because I feel like we're not being proactive in putting ourselves out there as USGD other than like social media, but only people who follow us see us there. So I feel like if we were to maybe go in and speak to the students themselves, regardless if they're not interested, they still like get the idea that, hey, we exist and we're on campus. That's a different topic though, but I'm just speaking out loud. From what I hear, it's an issue that we're not having enough seats being filled. And then to my other point that I previously stated, I think it might be a good idea to keep all these seats open to the college, but open to at-large senator positions, just to get more people in, regardless of the ratio being messed up.
So going to the part where it's still two CISA senators and having two at large, I do like that idea. Another thing that also kind of goes to her point is that how exactly would it work in elections? Would it be that people would run for it at large, or would it be the idea, which I also do like, where there's a certain amount of time where we can have a vacancy and then it just becomes an at large? But then also goes back to the bylaws where the reason why we have two senators for each college is for the equal representation, which although it is hard because of the way that we do our recruitment, but again, like the fact that it is equal representation.
Okay, I think before we get into the weeds of all of this, we should decide whether or not we want at-large senators at all. And if we decide if we do, then we can figure out the logistics of how that would work in elections and the bylaws and all that jazz. But I think we should decide whether or not we want them first. Senator Tobine?
I was going off of the point that Senator Kruger had made about our I guess lack of recruitment. Another thing that I can tell you that was done last semester. Yeah, last semester was at the time, Senator Tialin and myself, we actually went to the meetings on the floors for TV. And Senator Tialin actually probably spoke to every single floor about our open positions. And that was actually where Senator Connell came from. So that would be another easier way to solicit new members that Senator Keown at the time took upon himself. So I would open that to all of you. If you live on TV, speak at the floor meetings. Try to reach out to the CA or the rascal on that floor and be a representative for your college.
Really?
The recruitment point change maker, will go into classrooms to talk about what their purpose is at AU. To recruit people for service and recruit people for their positions as well. But it's more from a space of how to contribute to ASU, but not necessarily hey, we need open positions, but this is what USGD does, and here's how you can get involved would be the better message instead of just be a position filled. So it can be done. Also, that's all.
I just want to clarify, I was in no way trying to like bash anyone for not doing a good job recruiting. I just want to make sure. I was unaware of, at the time, Senator Keown's his good effort in that. But overall, my opinion, I'm sorry. Overall, my opinion is that I think we do need at-large senators. Not to get into the weeds at all, I just think we need more people here to speak for our students right now. And regardless of the vacant seats that stand, I just think that we need more people here, regardless of what college they're from.
Senator Alvarado.
Just kind of like a small point. Going back to what Senator Cabral, I think it was, who said, like giving different colleges kind of more power in a way, just because what if we have 3 sets and there's no caucus or something? I guess an idea would be as at large senator, you're kind of just like their aide. I think that's what they're saying too. Just kind of like being there as like just like as more of a help in a way, especially if there's 2 at large spots. I think that was said like for each college. Then in a way, like if the 2 senator positions are already filled, then both of the senators would get an aide. So kind of like an intern in a way, but not necessarily. They would still like do the amount of office hours. If that makes sense, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like how to keep how to keep at-large senators accountable in terms of their specific job description is a separate conversation that I definitely think we should have like a caucus on another day, because we'll be 3 hours if we really get to the weeds of it. But I think that's definitely something that we should talk about next week, caucus and GovOps possibly. But I kind of just wanted to get the temperature of the room in terms of if at-large senators was something that we wanted to consider.
Yeah, so I think maybe the conversation for it, I think Ally said it, there's some reason well. But getting into the weeds of this, we would be here for a pretty long time, which is fine. That's in these positions to do. But I think moving the conversation at caucus would be more productive. And I think as far as advancing the conversation, and really deciding if you do add the at-large Senate positions, are they one solely getting rid of phrasing painful diseases? 2, if they're going to put in a certain sunset clause to allow any open vacancies to become at-large seats. 3, if we have the payroll capacity to add 2 separate representatives as at-large seats in addition to CCC. So we would have something to consider. Those are just some things to ponder about. We can don't ponder about that. Go to first round.
Is there any more discussion? Any further points? this conversation definitely is not over. We'll talk about it in GovOps if GovOps Chair Alvarado will allow it, and definitely a caucus for sure. But I just want to throw the idea out there. I definitely think that as a body we should consider what would serve the students most efficiently and effectively, and if that means making changes to the way that things have always been done, I think that's worth considering. Any final thoughts on the at-large? Moving on to old business. Seeing none, moving on to final statements. Are there any final statements? Senator Salas.
Yeah, so well, there are like some things that I can report about. There's the environmental lobby day at the Capitol happening on February 7th, next Wednesday. If anyone would be interested, I'm most likely going to be going. And if anyone is also like not busy during that Wednesday, there's also this organization trying to go out to Washington D.C. for the Future Action. And so I just wanted to extend the invitation.
Senator Kruger.
And if anyone is interested in working on breaking down the jargon for the health fee for upcoming Slice for Advice, as well as our newfound task for senators to collect feedback from at least 50 different constituents with Senate President Perkins and President Clinton, please let me know, because I'm planning on setting up a meeting and I'd love for anyone else to cue in with what words make sense, what phrases make more sense for students. So let me know.
Awesome. Any other final statements? I have a couple. So I just sorry you guys have to hear my voice, but I just wanted to remind you guys that the closing of the elections application form is February 23rd, which is 3 weeks from today. And if you are interested in becoming involved in student government again and running for something, that it closes on February 23rd. So if you can find that on the website.
It's on our website, yeah. To be honest, you know, if the application website's even open, election website's even open.
I haven't seen it. I haven't received anything from the advisors. But the deadline was this. So I'll follow up.
Okay.
Yeah. The URL will most likely be ASUelections.com, since it was ASU Elections 2016 and ASU Elections 17. I will not be running for 3.
Oh, that's true. I get it. Just want to make sure that deadline was on your horizon. Also, meetings, committee meetings, whether it be committee meetings, Senate, caucus, make sure you show up 10 minutes beforehand if you can. I understand some of you are coming from class and from other obligations, but if you can, try to arrive on the early side just to avoid absence points so we can have meetings started and finished in a timely manner. Senator Alvarado, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, so GovOps is next Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. So make sure that everyone knows. If you're not in GovOps, feel free to come if that works for you, because I will be putting the point about at-large senators up for discussion there. So if you guys definitely want to go, or even e-board if that's something that you guys, if you were a senator, like if you guys want to have your points made, please definitely come out. I'll send a reminder in Slack like the day before GovOps, but yeah. Thanks.
Great. And then my last, Senator Roth, go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly to remind me on the notes of like committee meetings, if you're not going to be at a committee or you're running late, can you message the committee head? Also, yes, also Senate President Perkins, but I think it'd be super helpful if you can message the head of that committee. So they know.
Yes, please. Please keep us all informed. That'd be great. And then my last final statement was that if you're a member of the BAC, sorry to do this, but please stay a couple minutes afterwards, because maybe you wanted to go over some of the funding requests with us, just very, very briefly. So thank you in advance for your patience. And that's it. Did anyone else have any other final statements? All right, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting at 4:49 p.m.? Is there a second? Any objections? We are adjourned.